Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Welcome to another episode of Airgun Detectives. Today we're going to take the mystery out of the SIG Sauer MCX and MPX. So yes, we've got our modular pistol and our modular carbine. So before we get started here, do me a favor, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you'd like to be notified of our new videos when they're released, please hit that little bell. And we'd love some feedback. We really like the thumbs up. So if you could, we'd appreciate that. Okay, back to this. Okay, these are basically identical rifles. The only difference is your MPX. This has actually an 8-inch barrel. So they consider that a pistol. So that's got an 8-inch barrel. Where you've got your MCX, and this has a full 17.7-inch barrel. The suppressor here that you see on the end of it, that's just basically a barrel shroud, but the barrel goes all the way to the end. So this has a 17.7-inch barrel. So they're basically the exact same guns. They both take the identical magazines. This is a belt-fed magazine. It holds 30 rounds in a little belt, which is pretty neat. You just pop this open, and then you can pull the little belt out. You load it up. You load up the belt with your pellets. You seat them in there. Then you feed them right back into the magazine. And so then it's a belt-fed magazine. So each time you pull the trigger, it actually rotates the belt and lines up your next round. But you got a full 30 rounds. These are CO2 rifles, and I don't mean small CO2s, I mean big CO2s. They're anywhere from they take an 88 to a 90 gram CO2, so they're the bigger CO2s. Anyway, and those go, I'll show you real quick, they go right in the back of the rifle. You just pull this off like this, and you screw your CO2 right in the back, goes right back here, and then your cover just goes right back over that, just like that, so it conceals your CO2. Anyway, so the only difference in these rifles here is the length of the barrel. So let me just move one up here so we can just talk about one for now. Okay, good sir. Structurally, you can order these in different combinations. You can order them with a red dot sight if you want. You can order it with a scope, or you can just order it stripped down. They do come with the metal flip-up sights here, the peep sights, one in the front and one in the back. It does come with the grip here, the forward grip, which is nice. Does not come with the bipods, but you can add Picatinny rails to the bottom of this. What I did, and then you can set up your bipod just like this. It's got a Picatinny rail across the top. It's a combination of metal and polymer. So this part, the main housing here, is metal, and then you have this is kind of a polymer forefront here in the foregrip, and then you have a metal barrel shroud. And then this is obviously polymer as well. It's a really nice gun. It's got actually a really nice trigger. You got a charging handle, which does actually cock each time you fire it. So, and it's a double action trigger, but it's actually quite nice. And it forwards each time you fire it, it actually advances the belt when you pull the trigger. So as you're pulling the trigger, it advances the belt for that next pellet. And then you go from there. But there's quite a few variations of these as far as colors, what accessories you want. Pretty neat setup. SIG's done a really, really well job on this. Because last time I checked, you can't find many pellet repeating rifles out there. So anyway, as I said before, they're basically the same gun. And here's our tan one that we just had with our 8-inch barrel. And you see I put some optics on this. You can put a sling on this, but it's the same setup. CO2 goes in the back, identical gun, identical separate part. It's got a couple of Picatinny rails on the side. Put a rail on the bottom again, so I can put forward grip. The short ones don't come with a forward grip, so I put a grip on here, which also doubles as a bipod, which is kind of nice. But let's see how they perform. Now, SIG's claiming that the 8-inch barrel one, the MPX, will get around 575 feet per second. And then our other one, our MCX, with our longer barrel here, it's supposed to get around 700 feet per second. This one retails under 200 bucks, I think around 185 with no optics, just the flip-up sights. And our other one, our tan one here, I think that retails for around 170 bucks. But enough of this. Let's go out and test them and see how well they perform, and then we'll come back and talk about it. We have our SIG MPX here. We're going to shoot 5 shots over the crony. We'll see what type of velocity we have. I'm going to try to give this thing the biggest benefit of the doubt. I'm using some Winchester alloys. They're a 4.32 grain alloy, .177 caliber. So they're pretty much the lightest pellet I could find. So I know on the box they're claiming 600 feet per second, but then some of the airgun retailers are claiming 575. So let's see what type of velocity we do. I'm going to shoot 5 shots. Hopefully our crony won't act up. Let's see what we got. All right. Shot number 1. 566. Shot number 2. That was an error. Of course it was. Why would we not have an error? All right, shot number 3. 560. Shot number 4. 562. Do one more. 559. And I think we should do one more shot. All right. That's our average, and that was with a lightweight alloy. So let's try the MCX and see how well it does. Okay, now the MCX, same lightweight pellets. Let's see what we do over the chronograph with 5 shots here. All right, shot number 1, 700. Shot number 2, 691. Shot number 3, 686. Shot number 4, 692. And shot number 5, 689. Well, there you go. There's your average 2 velocities and your feet per second. So let's move on to the next segment. Let's test our MPX for a little accuracy. I'm going to shoot some Meisterkugeln pellets. There's a few pretty good ones that actually work in this gun, but we're going to do the 7.0 grain. We're going to give that a shot. We'll see how it groups. I'll shoot anywhere from 5 to 10 shots, and I'm actually about 15 yards back, so I moved back. This is much farther than the 30 feet that we would normally shoot the pistols at. So I'm at 15 yards, and keep in mind this is only an 8-inch barrel, so let's see how well it does. Alrighty. Let's see. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not too shabby. The first one looks like it was a little bit of a flyer. Sometimes when you're loading these belt magazines, what happens is they're kind of grooved in here. So what happens sometimes is there's kind of some little notches. They kind of ding up the pellet once in a while, and you will get a flyer. And I've noticed that's contributed to that. But anyway, not a bad group. Let's go try the MCX and see how it does at the same distance. Okay, now we're going to try our MCX. We're also 15 yards out. I'm going to use the same pellets, the Meisterkugelns, and let's see how well we do. Now this is a 17.7 inch barrel compared to the 8-inch barrel. So let's see if it makes any difference. All right. We're going to shoot anywhere from 5 to 10 shots. Just see how that goes. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, I would say that was a respectable group. Yeah, that we shot the Meisterkugelns there. They actually did a pretty good job. All right, let's move on to the next segment. Okay, let's do a quick trigger test on our MPX and see how it is. In all fairness, I put the magazine in. It has the CO2 in because we want to see what the true trigger weight is because you have to advance that belt as you pull the trigger. So let's see what it comes out at. Let me reset our little Lyman trigger gauge here. Let's see what we got here. And I can tell you it's going to... Okay, that's 7 pounds. It looks like 7 pounds, 3.5 ounces. Doesn't feel that heavy. It actually feels pretty good. So let's, just for fun, let's check out our MCX and see what it does. Okay, now we're going to try the trigger pull real quick on the MCX. Let's see what it does. Let me reset our trigger gauge and let's see what type of trigger weight we have here. Wow, that one was a little bit lighter. That's 5 pounds, 12 ounces. Pretty interesting. All right, let's move on to the next segment. My favorite part of any of these reviews is the plinking. Okay, so we decided to come back a little bit. We're about a little over 18 yards from here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shoot the top row with the MCX, and then I'm gonna go for the bottom row with the MPX. So let's see how well we do. No guarantees on this. All right. And I'm shooting the Meisterkugelns again. Start from the right. Okay. The shotgun shell. Can we clean those off there? Yes, we can. Alrighty. So now let's try the MPX at this distance. Now keep in mind, the MCX has an advantage because it's got the longer barrel. So we got a much shorter barrel here. But let's see how well we do. Alrighty. Wow. Not too shabby at all. And that's our MPX. Like I said, we're over 18 yards out here, so which is probably the max distance that you would shoot these. But for a .177 semi-automatic pellet rifle, you gotta love it. All right, let's move on to the next segment. Let's wrap this up with our conclusion here on both our SIG Sauer MCX and our MPX. Wow, these guns are really a lot of fun and very unique. You don't see a pellet repeater out there, especially one that holds, you know, a 30-round magazine. It's just not, they just don't exist yet. But SIG has really done a good job on this. Now, the only basic difference between these two rifles, as you guys saw, is pretty much just the length of the barrel and the color. But you can do pretty much any color variations now. SIG has these out in the different colors. As you know, I added the optics to it. This one originally came with a red dot sight. I actually put it on another gun. I put a scope on this one. And you can see these things actually warrant a scope. You saw how accurate we were. We were back much farther than our typical distance as far as shooting goes, and plinking wise too. So these guns, they do a really good job. You get about, out of the big CO2s here, you get about 250 shots per CO2. So you get quite a few shots out of these, which they work quite well. Also, just so you know, I talked to SIG, and the MCX, the MPX, the X really doesn't have a meaning. The MC, if you want to call it a modular carbine, which makes sense, or the modular pistol, that makes sense. But the X really doesn't have a definition. So if you guys are worried about that or curious about that, it really doesn't have a definition. But these guns are terrific. I don't know if I mentioned the grips on these things. They're kind of rubberized, so they feel actually really good in the hand. And the triggers are actually smooth, especially for a trigger that actually feeds that belt at the same time. And you saw the trigger weight on them. They varied a little bit, but pretty much the same. And you can see the accuracy was pretty much the same in both these guns. This one, I'm going to say the longer barrel, it's going to have the edge because it has a little bit higher velocity. And I found out that pretty much any of those RWS, the wad cutters, work really good in either one of those. It seems to favor those. You also can get an adapter set. They make an adapter set for this. If you want to use, they make a PCP tank for this, that it's actually regulated. You can replace it and put it, I think it's around $100 if you want to do that type of thing. But then, you know, once again, it's like a PCP, then you got to refill it. These, you just use them, you throw them out, you move on, which are kind of neat. Great guns. Negativities on them, there's really not much negativity because you get quite the package here. These flip-up sights are even really great on these things, by the way. They come up with a completely adjustable peep sights. But as you get older, your eyes aren't as good, and that's why we like to prefer the optics here. These also, just so they're typically not a blowback. However, the gas does reset the trigger. So each time you fire it, the trigger is reset by the gas, and you can test that out. If there's no CO2 in it, you dry fire it. You pull the charging handle back, it fires, and then you got to pull it back again. But the CO2 actually drives that. So with that, I got to tell you, these are a lot of fun. They're very unique. As far as the rating goes on these things, 4.5 stars. Got to give them 4.5 stars. The cool factor, I mean, look at this thing. Look at both these guns. You take a really close look at these things. They are just terrific. I mean, just the detail on them, all of that. So anyway, yeah, and I have room for both, and I like shooting both of them, that's for sure. So again, if you guys haven't subscribed, please hit that little subscribe button down below. If you'd like to be notified anytime we come out with some new videos, I try to come out with one every Friday, but I will occasionally have a special edition pop up. So if you want to be notified, just hit that little bell. And please give us a feedback. We love the thumbs up. Other than that, until next time, tune into Airgun Detectives, where we take the mystery out of the airgun.